Kentucky. Susan, thank you for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself and get started?
Sure, absolutely. I'm Susan Thomas, and I own Smooth Transitions of Central Kentucky. We help seniors with moving and downsizing and dispersing their estates. And so people will call on us to do those sorts of things. We've been doing it now for almost 11 years total, and getting ready to enter the 12th year. So I think we can call ourselves experts at decluttering. We usually do 70 to 80 jobs a year. Should I go ahead and just start the conversation?
Sure.
Okay, great. So, speaking of conversations, today's topic is decluttering and where do we begin? And one of the descriptions was, how are you going to talk to your family, your your parents, about the stuff they have, and starting to declutter those things now versus waiting until there's a crisis. So, starting the conversation about that need to declutter, it may take several conversations to get that rolling, because you'll probably have to give them reasons why they need to let go of things. You'll have to get past the emotions of it and just the inertia of how overwhelming it can be. Typically, we get a call when there is some sort of crisis and a move is imminent. So the family can't do it, or they don't want to do it, or sometimes there is no family to help. And many times it's just the job is so overwhelming that they want professional help. So that's why they will call on us. But today, I want to talk with you about how to get started with your parents as far as letting things go, as well as some tips you can use yourself so you don't get into that position. So, next slide, please. There we go. This is one of my favorite cartoons. One day, son, all this will be yours. So, when they raise the door on that storage unit or that garage that looks like that, I'm sorry, my PowerPoint. Here we go. My PowerPoint has stopped. This would be a perfect time to start that conversation about what are we going to do with all of this. And it has been my experience that the elder parent, would like nothing more than you to have their things. And in my experience, the adult children don't want it and don't need it. And you taking your parents' things to your house is not decluttering if that clutter is being transferred to your home. I have seen most garages that look like this and storage units. It's the work that's been deferred. Next slide. So, about this conversation and how to get it started, one way would be to talk about safety issues. Many homes that we go into with elderly people, it's no longer a safe environment. There are trip hazards. It's not clean anymore because things haven't been moved or dusted, any of that sort of thing. So you may want to approach it from that perspective. How is it that you can pick the things up that are in their path, so they don't trip over them? And how do you get their kitchen tables cleaned off? It's all of that sort of thing. You want some safety brought back into their lives, by getting rid of that clutter that just sits there. One of the first jobs I ever had was with a couple who, she was in a walker and he had Alzheimer's. And I realized immediately the path from the paths in the house, I should say, was from the bed to the bathroom, from the bedroom to the kitchen, and the kitchen to the chair in front of the TV. So, therefore, all along that path is where things got put because they weren't going into any other parts of the house. So, that idea of cleaning up those paths is really important at this point in time. Also, it just takes time. So you can talk to them about the kind of time it will take and that we don't have to rush through the project if we start now. So that may be one technique as far as getting them on board. Next slide, please. So how to do, oh, here we go. um, I need you to go back to that other slide, letting go. Here we go. Here we go. So, when you're talking to them about how you're going to proceed, and here's the plan, talk to them about, okay, we can put things into categories. We're going to, when we go through that kitchen cabinet, we're going to say, okay, we're going to keep these things. We're going to donate this stuff. We're going to recycle paper, and we're going to, some things are just going to have to be thrown away. And so, the goal of this is that you only want to touch things once. That means you only need to make the decision once. You're not going to defer these decisions. So that's why you have those kinds of categories to get things out of the house. And I don't know if you all know, and I'm sure you have not gone around and counted all the objects in your home, but there's some figure out there that most American homes have 300,000 items in them. And so that's everything from the smallest item to the big furniture pieces. Okay, and next slide. So here is a way, some time-tested tips for getting started and sticking to it. Important thing is to start now. We do uh, we do these things every day, so we kind of know how to get into it and get it started. But anyway, you can do the same thing. Start now. Think about just if you had a year to take one thing out of your home and you took it out every day, that's 365 fewer things. And if you could do two of those every day, it's amazing what progress you would make on that. On number two, on how to, is it's really important that you work in small steps. One drawer at a time, one cabinet at a time, one closet at a time, one room at a time. It is impossible to walk into the home and think about it holistically. You have to break it down into manageable bits. So that is good too. Spend an afternoon with your loved one and say, today we're going to tackle that closet. And when you bring an item into the house at this point in time, is why don't you pitch one? Why don't you let one go? Don't bring anything in now that you can't let something go out behind it. I have two pictures on that page. The new clutter, if you see that picture on the right, is electronics. And I never fails the homes I go into, how much of that clutter there is. And Lexington has e-cycle, if you don't know that, where you can drop this kind of thing off. Okay, and then number four, the next slide. Um, and that is a rule of if it's broken, chipped, or stained, throw it away. And don't donate it, throw it away. Clothing, if it doesn't fit, it needs a repair, it hasn't been worn in the last year, let it go. I don't know about you all, but when I go to my closet, I tend to pull the same things out to wear all the time. So that means there's a lot of clothing, shoes, purses, ties, belts, whatever. There's a lot of that that's not getting used. So anyway, uh, you can cull those pretty easily. And here again, if it's ripped or needs a repair or it's showing dry rot, any of those things, don't take it to the charity either. That's not fair to them, I don't think. Okay, the next one, food and spices. So we constantly clean out pantries and we always look at the expiration dates on food. And spices are one of those things because the cans and the bottles are small, they get stuffed in the back of cabinets. And there are always things we find from 1997. So we throw all of that away. Another rule of thumb for food and spices is this, and that is don't buy any more of it now. Use what you've got first before you bring anything else into the house or into your kitchen. Um, and also commit to not buying in bulk. If you're trying to declutter and downsize, then you don't need, 6 packs of whatever it is that you have. Um, so that's one of the things you can do with someone is go in and help them with their food and spices. And there's always things in the pantry that needs to be thrown away. Um, so about paper and shredding, and paper is another huge job. We have a lot of it in our lives. I can guarantee you do in your offices and in your homes. And there are certain kinds of records you need to keep and hold on to forever. And that's things like marriage licenses and birth certificates, divorce decrees, all of that kind of thing. And you also need to keep papers on any assets that you own. So that'd be your bank accounts, your investments, the current car you own, the house you own, all of that. You always hang on to that. However, you may discard that once you no longer own the asset. So if you have car papers from something you sold back in 2009 and you no longer own that car, get rid of that paperwork. And my recommendation is follow your financial advisor's advice as far as what to keep as far as tax returns go, or go to the IRS website when it comes to that. And then shred anything that has sensitive information on it, social security numbers, account numbers, all of that. You can take that shredding to a place like a Staples, a UPS, and they will shred it by the pound. The cost will be by the pound. If you have, like, your Herbie uh, container, if you have that much paper, you may want to call in a shredding company who will come and shred on site. I have used that before when we had just an excess of paper that needed to be shredded. Okay, then books. So, books can be sold or donated. Lexington Public Library, I don't know if you all know, they are now accepting donations. They raise money by selling those. Um, Books are a tough one in that we have a tendency we don't want to throw them away. We want to give them away or sell them, as I've already said. One time I had a job where the house was wall-to-wall books. And there was no way were we going to be able to donate all of these. So I, first of all, called in a bookseller and had him come in and take a look at everything. And he bought some. And then he said to me, which was great, it kind of let us off the hook. And that is, there was nothing there in the house, as far as books go, that wasn't still available somewhere. So, in other words, if we threw those books away, it wasn't that you would never see the contents again. So, we had so many books, we filled up a dumpster. So that was our only, at that point in time, was really our only option. So think through that process as far as that goes. Also, the next one here is photographs. This is a generation that we still have hard copies. It's not on our phones. And so culling that is a big task. And you can digitize photos now, which is handy, but as many photos as many of us have, that could be quite pricey. Um, a story that I love is a woman that I was working with, and she had already done the photo culling, and she had 7 kids. And so she had 7 boot boxes, which are, good size. And she sat down and went through every photograph and decided I need to give this photograph to the youngest, I need to give this photograph to the oldest. And she ended up putting all of those photographs in those boxes and then handed that to her kids. And I love that story, that she was able to do that. And then the kids can decide what they want to do with it at that point in time. But it's a big job. It's a big job. It's one you can spend a lot of time on, and it's one with your loved one that, it could be really fun as far as reminiscing and identifying who the people are in those photographs. Okay, next is, are we down to storing things for others and storage bins? So my words of advice are don't do it on either one of these things. Storing things for others. What can I say? Sometimes it's hard to get it out of your house. Um, I have had clients who will call their children, adult children, or their grandchildren and say, "You have to come get this." And of course, they don't. And then I have had a couple who put it in their car and take it to their house. So I think that you're allowed to do that. So, and then storage bins and storage units. Um, Both are expensive. The problem I see with storage bins is that it's about it, while it gets you organized, it also defers getting rid of things. And then it stays in the storage bin and I'm talking about the tubs. I hope you all are following me on those. The plastic tubs with the plastic lids, they're great for stacking. Usually they go in an attic or they go in a basement, sometimes in the garage, and they get stacked. Um, Problem with that, you don't always know what's in the bin unless you're really good at labeling. Um, and once you stack them, they can be quite heavy as far as getting them unstacked. And here you are thinking, oh, I wonder what's in that particular bin on the bottom. And so you have to take all the others off. And so why keep all of that? Why not just keep what you need, have a place for it, one bin if you have to have one, but not 12? So, what I'm getting at is that many times we will come across these bins that haven't been opened for years. And then storage units are very expensive, and you're just putting off the inevitable when you take that stuff to storage, and you open up that door one day, 2 years later, saying $2,400 later, and you open up that door and go, I don't need any of this. So you have to be what I'll call ruthless sometimes and let the stuff go. So, but anyway, those are kind of the 12 tips that I have for you to think about as you go through well, I've got one more actually. Go to the next screen about charity. We love it if you embrace your charity, meaning that you know that if you give things away, it's going to do something good for someone, be it a goodwill, be it Habitat for Humanity, which I love, maybe your church, any numbers of charities. Just embrace it and be generous. This picture right here happens to be Kentucky Refugee Ministries. And my client was very generous and gave away some really nice furniture to a family that didn't have anything. And so I just loved it that she thought, the money is not important right now. Let's just get the house emptied. And that's another thing I'll say, because that made me think of that, is that many times it's not the stuff in the house that's valuable. The house is what's valuable. And we're cleaning it out so you can sell that asset. And that's where your many times your money is in the property and not in the items that are in the home. So embrace your charity and know that they do good work. And then, so when the deep cleaning motivation wears off midway and now you're just sitting in the room like this, take a break. And if you have to have wine, go for it. But take a break. It's okay. And if you do this if you do this with your elderly parent, or even doing it for yourself, take time to do it. If a move is not imminent, take time to do it. Break it down into those steps I was talking about. Take on one project at a time. Don't try to do it all. If you have to do it all really quickly, give us a call. We can have as many as 5 people there working different areas to get all of that done. But you can do this too. So next thing is, do you have any questions? I'm sorry, my PowerPoint. Here we go. My PowerPoint has stopped. This would be a perfect time to start that conversation about